Hey, hello, how are you? Welcome to another one of our read-alongs of The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. I am using the Wordsworth edition and tonight I'm starting on page 62. Do you remember we left Mole? He was terrified in the wildwood. Shouldn't have gone without Rat, should he? Should have listened to Rat. But he went anyway to the wildwood and got himself quite terrified. We had all of the faces looking at him, obviously the weasels, etc. But he got himself all worked up and terrified, so he hid in a little bit, didn't he? And just as we left it last night, it was just as Rat stumbled upon his hiding place. So we'll pick it up from there. Here we go. Oh, Rat, is it really you? The Rat crept into the hollow, and there he found the Mole, exhausted and still trembling. "Oh, Rat!" he cried. "I've been so frightened you can't think." "Oh, I quite understand," said the Rat soothingly. "You shouldn't really have gone and done it, Mole. I did my best to keep you from it. We riverbankers, we hardly ever come here by ourselves, and if we have to come, we come in couples at least. Then we're generally all right. Besides, there are 100 things one has to know which we understand all about, and you don't as yet. I mean, passwords, signs and sayings which have power and effect, and plants that you should carry in your pocket, verses you repeat, and dodges and tricks that you practice. All simple enough when you know them, but they've got to be known if you're small, or you'll find yourself in trouble. Of course, if you were badger or otter, it wouldn't be quite another matter." "Surely the brave Mr. Toad wouldn't mind coming here by himself, would he?" inquired the Mole. "Old Toad!" said the Rat, laughing heartily. "He wouldn't show his face here alone. Not for a whole hatful of golden guineas, Toad wouldn't." The Mole was greatly cheered by the sound of the Rat's careless laughter, as well as by the sight of his stick and his gleaming pistols, and he stopped shivering and began to feel bolder and more himself again. "Now then," said the Rat presently, "we really must pull ourselves together and make a start for home while there's still a little light left. It will never do to spend the night here, you understand. Too cold, for one thing." "Dear Ratty," said the poor Mole, "I'm dreadfully sorry, but I'm simply dead beat, and that's a solid fact. You must let me rest here a while longer and get my strength back if I'm to get home at all." "Oh, all right," said the good-natured Rat. "Rest away. It's pretty near pitch dark anyway, and there ought to be a bit of a moon later on." So the Mole got well into the dry leaves and stretched himself out, and presently dropped off into sleep, though of a broken and troubled sort, while the Rat covered himself up too, best as he might, for warmth, and lay patiently waiting with a pistol in his paw. When at last the Mole woke up, much refreshed and in his usual spirits, the Rat said, "Now then, I'll just take a look outside and see if everything's quiet, then we really must be off." He went to the entrance of their retreat and put his head out. Then the Mole heard him saying quietly to himself, "Hello, hello. Here is a go." "What's up, Ratty?" asked the Mole. "Snow is up," replied the Brat briefly, "or rather, down. It's snowing hard." The Mole came and crouched beside him, and looking out, saw the wood that had been so dreadful to him in quite a changed aspect. Holes, hollows, pools, pitfalls, and other black menaces to the wayfarer were vanishing fast, and a gleaming carpet of fairy was springing up everywhere, that looked too delicate to be trodden upon by rough feet. A fine powder filled the air and caressed the cheek with a tingle in its touch, and the black boles of the tree showed up in a light that seemed to come from below. "Well, well, it can't be helped," said the Rat after pondering. "We must make a start and take our chance, I suppose. The worst of it is, I don't exactly know where we are, and now this snow, it makes everything look so very different." And it did indeed. The Mole would not have known that it was the same wood. However, they set out bravely and took the line that seemed most promising, holding on to each other and pretending with invincible cheerfulness that they recognised an old friend in every fresh tree that grimly and silently greeted them, or saw openings, gaps, or paths with a familiar turn in them in the monotony of white space and black tree trunks that refused to vary. An hour or two later they had lost all count of time. They pulled up, dispirited, weary and hopelessly at sea, and sat down on a fallen tree trunk to recover their breath and consider what was to be done. They were aching with fatigue and bruised with tumbles. They'd fallen into several holes and got wet through. The snow was getting so deep that they could hardly drag their little legs through it, and the trees were thicker and more like each other than ever. There seemed to be no end to this wood, and no beginning either, and no difference in it, and, worst of all, no way out. "We can't sit here for very long," said the rat. "We shall have to make another push for it, and do something or other. The cold is too awful for anything, and the snow will be too deep for us to wade through." He peered about him and considered. "Look here. This is what occurs to me. There's a sort of dell down there in front of us, where the ground seems all hilly and humpy and hummocky. We'll make our way down into that and try and find some sort of shelter, a cave or hole with a dry floor to it, out of the snow and the wind, and there we'll have a good rest before we try again. We're both of us pretty dead beat. Besides, the snow may leave off, or something may turn up." So once more they got to their feet and struggled down into the dell, where they hunted about for a cave or some corner that was dry and a protection from the keen wind and whirling snow. They were investigating one of the hummocky bits that Rat had spoken of, when suddenly the mole tripped up and fell forward on his face with a squeal. "Oh, my leg!" he cried. "Oh, my poor shin!" And he sat up on the snow and nursed his leg in both his front paws. "Poor old mole," said the rat kindly. "You don't seem to be having much luck today, do you? Let's have a look at the leg. Yes," he went on, going down on his knees to look. "You've cut your shin, sure enough. Wait till I get at my handkerchief and I'll tie it all up for you." "I must have tripped over a hidden branch or a stump," said the mole miserably. "Oh my, oh my." "It's a very clean cut," said the rat, examining it again attentively. "There was never done by a branch or a stump. It looks as if it was made by a sharp edge or something made from metal. Funny." He pondered a while and examined the humps and slopes that surrounded them. "Well, never mind what done it," said the mole, forgetting his grammar in his pain. "It hurts just the same, whatever done it." But the rat, after carefully tying up his leg with a handkerchief, had left him and was busy scraping in the snow. He scratched and shovelled and explored, all four legs working busily, while the mole waited impatiently, remarking at intervals, "Oh, come on, rat." Suddenly the rat cried, "Hooray!" and then, "Hooray, hooray, 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 hooray," and fell to executing a feeble jig in the snow. "What have you found, Ratty?" asked the mole, still nursing his leg. "Come and see," said the delighted rat as he jigged on. The mole hobbled up to the spot and had a good look. "Well," he said at last, slowly, "I see it right enough. Seen the same sort of thing before, lots of times. Familiar object, I call it. A door scraper." "Well, what of it? Why dance jigs around a door scraper?" "But don't you see what it means, you dull-witted animal?" cried the rat impatiently. "Of course I see what it means. It simply means that some very careless and forgetful person has left his door scraper lying about in the middle of the wild wood, just where it's sure to trip everybody up. Very thoughtless of him, I call it. When I get home I shall go and complain about it to somebody or other. You see if I don't." Oh dear," cried the rat in despair at his obtuseness. "Here, stop arguing and come and scrape." And he set to work again and made the snow fly in all directions around him. After some further toil, his efforts were rewarded, and a very shabby doormat lay exposed to view. "There, what did I tell you?" exclaimed the rat in great triumph. Absolutely nothing whatsoever," replied the mole with perfect truthfulness. "Well now, you seem to have found another piece of domestic litter, done for and thrown away, and I suppose you're perfectly happy. Better go ahead and dance your jig around that, if you've got to, and get it over with, and then perhaps we can go on and not waste any more time over rubbish heaps. Can we eat a doormat? Can we sleep under a doormat? Or sit on a doormat and sledge home over the snow on it? You exasperating rodent." "Do you mean to say," cried the excited rat, "that this doormat doesn't tell you anything?" "Really, rat," said the mole quite pettishly, "I think we've had enough of this folly. Whoever heard of a doormat telling anyone anything? They simply don't do it. They are not that sort. Doormats know their place. Now look here, you thick-headed beast, replied the rat, really angry. This must stop. Not another word, but scrape. Scrape and scratch and dig and hunt around, especially on the sides of the hummocks, if you want to sleep dry and warm tonight, for it's our last chance. The rat attacked a snow bank beside them with ardour, probing with his cudgel everywhere and then digging with fury, and the mole scraped busily too, more to oblige the rat than for any other reason, for his opinion was that his friend was getting light-headed. Some 10 minutes hard work, and the point of the rat's cudgel struck something that sounded hollow. He worked till he could get a paw through and feel, then called the mole to come and help him. Hard at it went the two animals, till at last the result of their labours stood full in view of the astonished and hitherto incredulous mole. In the side of what had seemed to be a snowbank stood a solid-looking little door, painted a dark green. An iron bell pull hung by the side, and below it, on a small brass plate, neatly engraved in square capital letters, they could read by the aid of moonlight, Mr. Badger. The mole fell backwards on the snow from sheer surprise and delight. "Rat!" he cried in penitence. "You're a wonder, a real wonder, that's what you are. I see it all now. You argued it out step by step in that wise head of yours from the very moment that I fell and cut my shin, and you looked at the cut, and at once your majestic mind said to itself, 'Door scraper,' and then you turned to and found the very door scraper that done it. Did you stop there? No. Some people would have been quite satisfied, but not you. Your intellect kept working. 'Let me only just find a doormat,' says you to yourself, and my theory is proved. And of course you found your doormat. You're so clever. I believe you could find anything you liked. Now, says you, that door exists as plain as if I saw it. There's nothing else remains to be done but to find it. Well, I've read about that sort of thing in books, but I've never come across it before in real life. You ought to go where you'll be properly appreciated. You're simply wasted here among us fellows. If I only had your head, Ratty." "But you haven't," interrupted the rat rather unkindly. "I suppose you're going to sit on the snow all night and talk. Get up at once and hang on to that doorbell you see there. Ring it hard as you can, while I hammer." While the rat attacked the door with his stick, the mole sprang up at the bell pull, clutched it and swung there, both feet well off the ground, and from quite a long way off they could faintly hear a deep-toned bell respond. Next chapter, chapter 4, is called Mr. Badger. There you go. That was tonight's part of Wind in the Willows. So, yesterday, I challenged you to write a haiku, didn't I, about your day. And I've got some entries. What I'm going to do, though, I'm going to wait one more day to read them, because I think some people, because of the time difference, are like a day behind. So I'll give them a chance to listen to yesterday's today, and then we'll read all of the entries tomorrow. How exciting. I've looked at them. I have looked at them. I saw the comments. Well done, those people who've already entered. If you haven't done your haiku yet, put it in. It's just a bit of fun. It's just a bit of fun. I'm not going to turn up at your door with a bunch of grapes or something and say, well done to you. There's no prize for it or anything. It's just a bit of fun. Just a bit of fun. All right. Okay. I'm off because I'm halfway through jobs. And I thought, gosh, it's getting dark. I better go and do my story. What is it? 16:34 today, Tuesday the 29th of October. And yeah, it's getting dark already. There's cars driving past with their lights on. I don't know if I can... Hang on. Let me see if I can swap it around for you. There. Hey, look, here we are. Back to normal. Look. Ready? Here comes one. See, it doesn't look very dark, actually, on the camera. Now I've done that. But it is. It's gloomy. It's dusky out there. All right. Okay. Love you lots. And I'll see you all tomorrow.